Today on Mid-Missouri Art News, I'm honored to have a guest from St. Louis, Missouri, Jackie Pollack. I'm Rick Jey, your host, and this is Mid-Missouri Art News. Welcome to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News, sponsored now by many art enthusiasts worldwide, thanks to YouTube and other venues. We're coming to you almost live from the capital city of Missouri. That's Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick Jey, and I'd like to please join with me in welcoming our guest, Mrs. Jackie Pollack, out of St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor
Ms.
to be
Pollack.
here.
Thank you so much. Well, Jackie, if I may call you by your first name, since
Sure.
I seem to be already in that groove. Can you share with us how you became, or a little bit about Jackie Pollack?
Sure.
And then we'll talk about how you became enthused as an artist. So tell us a little bit about Jackie.
Sure. My name's Jackie. I live in St. Louis with my husband of 9 years. We have a son, Aiden. He's 6 years old, a dog, and 2 cats. I love to go kayaking a lot. I go on hikes. Also, I have a huge love for illustrated children's books. I have a huge collection of those.
Oh, I see.
I'm from Washington State, actually, near the Puget Sound. So that's.
Oh, what a beautiful spot.
It is. It is a gorgeous spot, and it has a very rich art culture. So that's probably where all of it started.
Mm-hmm. So can you remember the moment that you was inspired, that you thought, I must do this also? Can you relate to that from the heart?
So I started drawing before I can remember, actually. My grandfather, he was an artist. He did oil paintings. So I was always told that it ran in my blood. But when I turned 6 years old, I accepted Christ as my Savior, and shortly after that, the just subconscious picking up a pencil became a desire to really create something more substantial, something more beautiful.
Right, and sometimes even with myself, these ideas, we have them, we take them in, but they seem like they come to you spiritually. If you can share this spiritual aspect. Now, next year, the Great Gossamer exhibit is in Warrensburg. That has been canceled for 2020. We talked about before the epidemic or pandemic came about. And if you'll see the interview with the two gentlemen that put together, we'll be talking about and experiencing and exhibiting what is behind maybe some of the artistry from a spiritual aspect, not religion, but from a spiritual aspect, how these ideas come to us sometimes. So I understand, I feel that you're touched also, and you'll describe more about what happens when you maybe take a walk and receive these spiritual feelings. Well, what you're now inspired to doing this artwork, which I'm so admire on the Instagram, and you've shared with me through email, and we'll be putting a lot of those works. Each one has a story, and we'll be talking about those more specifically in the second segment. So let's go in. We talked about what has become in spiral. What keeps you continued in this inspiration to your paintings and artwork?
I would have to say, above all else, truth. Truth is very important to me, and a lot of times the truth can be very painful
Yes.
for everyone. And so I don't like the term sugarcoating. That's not quite right, because that gives you the idea that you're changing it. I don't like to change the truth. I just like to make it a little bit easier for people to take in. Also, portraying an image for those who can't speak for themselves or don't have a voice. A lot of times my pieces will touch on people who have experienced pain, people who feel like others need to be educated as far as different experiences, just kind of attack ignorance a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's for right now, that is a very big part of why I do what I do.
And it shows in your work. I guess we should really let people understand that when you look at Jackie's work, they do speak to you. And whether it's a person who has been through a troubled time and they see a certain painting, I'm sure they're inspired and say, well, that's like me. So many artists are inspired by a painting. We have an artist that's been with us a couple times here on the program. He viewed a Monet exhibit, and that's what really inspired him. It's like the lights going off, the fireworks going off, or but more or less a spiritual connection. And now he, like we all as artists, try to give a little bit of a feeling and inspiration, what have you. So your paintings speak not only for you reaching out to people in certain areas of pain or depression, but you show paintings that show a great side, that not only can I feel your pain, you might say, but also here turn to this painting and feel inspired, because there are happier days.
Absolutely.
So your paintings cover both.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
absolutely.
within the paintings, I noticed that if you look deep enough, you'll pick up both, maybe the ill feeling, and there's always a great feeling to look at on the other side. So have I got it pretty much figured out?
You got it pretty close, yeah.
Thanks, thank you. Well, what is your favorite medium to work with?
I primarily work with watercolors. There's something very, very therapeutic about watercolors. You can't control water very well, except for the water that's within you. So when you're working with watercolors, you have to really let go of certain feelings of control, and just kind of let the colors take over. This is not to say that I do occasionally try to take control back. You can see that in some of my pieces sometimes, which when that happens, I don't like to cover it up. But yeah, watercolors are a huge joy for me. I do dabble in other mediums. I like acrylics. This piece right behind me, that's done with acrylic paints.
Right.
I have not tried oils yet.
I've tried to inspire you.
Yes.
For the magic oils. We talked about that on the phone, and I still encourage you to try that. Maybe we'll sit down sometime when I make a trip to St. Louis, and we'll have an experience.
That would be lovely.
But yes, she's talking about control. If a lot of you follow my artwork throughout the state, at different exhibits, and here at the JCTV, you notice they tell me that I'm so tight. And I notice when I do clouds, the freedom of the clouds in the brush. It's not like painting an eyelash on an eyelid. And that's when I get real tight. So those feelings are experienced as an artist as you develop and paint. And so you're expressing your own way of letting the water flow, I guess you could say. And we still attempt to take control, but yet I can see the looseness of her artwork, that the watercolors do take over, but they come together magically, yes. So that's great. Where do your ideas basically come from?
So a lot of times I will become inspired by what's going on in the world today as we know it. It's not always mainstream stuff. Sometimes I'll meet a person and I'll hear their story, and with their permission I will attempt to illustrate something that happened in their life.
Excellent.
A lot of times there will be something that touches me, that sometimes even disturbs me, and so I'll go on walks to try and bring peace back to myself.
Right.
And while I'm on these walks, sometimes I'll pray, sometimes I'll listen to music, and more often than not, I will receive visions, and these visions end up becoming my paintings.
And they give you direction, what direction to go.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. That's a great story. I know I've had those feelings also. Once I get an idea, I seem to have it endorsed, and then it becomes part of the brain matter, I guess, and then I'm ready to pick up the brush. So that's very interesting. Now we have quite a few paintings to talk about, and your technique that you might want to share in the second segment. So we must take a break, so I invite you to stay with me, and we'll be right back. So viewers, you know, there's a lot more here on Mid-Missouri Art News. We'll be back in about 60 seconds, so stay with us. See you in a few.
The crayon box that talked. While walking in a toy store the day before today, I overheard a crayon box with many things to say. I don't like red, said Yellow, and Green said, nor do I. And no one here likes orange, but no one knows just why.
We are a box of crayons that doesn't get along,
Said Blue to all the others. Something here is wrong. Well, I bought that box of crayons and took it home with me and laid out all the colors so the crayons could all see. They watched me as I colored, with red and blue and green and black and white and orange and every color in between. They watched as green became the grass and blue became the sky. The yellow sun was shining bright on white clouds drifting by. Colors changing as they touched, becoming something new. They watched me as I colored. They watched till I was through. And when I'd finally finished, I began to walk away. And as I did, the crayon box had something more to say. I do like red, said Yellow, and Green said, so do I.
and Blue, you were terrific so high up in the sky.
We are a box of crayons, each one of us unique.
But when we get together,
The picture is complete.
Welcome back to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News. I'm your host, Rick Jey, and we continue our discussion with Jackie Pollack out of St. Louis, Missouri. She describes more of what she enjoys using the medium watercolors. Welcome back, Jackie. It's been so informational and exciting to visit with you the first segment. So let me ask you, you shared a lot in segment one and have surely gained the attention now of our viewers here on Mid-Missouri Art News. Your work is outstanding and we want to learn more. So let's talk about some of your favorite pieces and the story or message behind them. I'll be sharing those on the timeline in the edit room. So I'll just turn it over to you. This Amor Confessions of 2016, Confession of Love, Beauty in Art. tell us all about this painting.
Sure, I'd love to. The title is Amore Confessare.
Oh,
It's Italian. I created this piece for my aunt-in-law, my husband's aunt. It was for her wedding, for her and her husband. It actually ended up being very late. I think I got it to him like 6 months after they got married. The vision was more complicated than I thought originally, so I really underestimated it. I started with a grisaille underpainting, which gives you that really high def image. And from there, I moved to gouache paints, which is another medium that I've dabbled in. I really liked the opacity of the paints and how they covered really well, so I was able to really stack layers.
Can you describe that to our viewers, what that is actually? We hear the term, but can you briefly?
A grisaille underpainting is the style of painting something as if it's a statue. So you're getting, you're working with monotones. For this one, I used warm tones just to kind of give the whole piece a warmer feeling, since it is about love. The gouache paints, they're in between watercolor and acrylic, in that they're water-based, like acrylics, or like watercolors and acrylics, but they're opaque, like acrylics and unlike watercolors.
I see. Very good. And any more on this painting you'd like to share?
Absolutely. So there, with most of my pieces, they go a little bit deeper than what you originally see. For this particular piece, I really wanted to illustrate romance, and I wanted to make it personal. So my aunt and uncle, they have a love for Mardi Gras, for rock and roll music. So if you take the time to really look at it, you can find elements of both. And I really loved the old look of the Venice masks from when Mardi Gras first started. So that was what I went with.
It does have that old style Venice feel.
Thank you. Thank you.
It always caught my eyes. Now, the another painting called "Shooting Up: Activism in Art." So, give us a little bit of background on this one, if you can.
This is probably my saddest piece to date. It's very very personal. Somebody I loved very dearly struggled with addiction to very hard drugs, and she also struggled with believing in something, anything really.
I see.
And I really wanted to portray the truth that I had in my heart, that she was absolutely loved completely by so many people, but most of all by God. And so this piece illustrates a young girl resting in God's palm while God is weeping.
I see. Excellent, excellent. Very touching. And it's great that you can share that and with so many and kind of, so we say, relate to that. We probably all have had those in our past, so it's unfortunate. Not even believing in yourself first, or finding that would be the main thing. So we're sorry that you was part of that, but at least you have been able to put some rest, shall we say, to it, and with love.
Yes, closure with love.
Yes. Now, SOS, that's activism.
Yes. It's my belief that artists have a duty to the world around them, and if you see something going on that is very wrong, then if you have the gift of creating pictures, I feel like you should at least attempt to awaken others around you to what's going on. So SOS, it's illustration of, it illustrates the horror of the aftermath of war. So it depicts the radioactive waste that's buried in Westlake landfill. It's from the Manhattan Project.
Oh, the Manhattan Project. I'm
Yeah, from
familiar
World
with.
War II. Yes.
uh-huh.
Yeah. This piece was displayed at the EPA proposed cleanup meeting back in 2008. So quite a few people got to see it. But since I'm not very good with words, I choose pictures to really
I see.
speak
Your
my
paintings
piece.
speak for you.
Yes.
And then you can explain from the heart what they might, meaning they may have. That's
Yes.
excellent. Yes, that's very interesting. And your, is that opioids?
Opioids, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Another unhappy piece overall. This one is extremely personal to me because this depicts issues that I had as a young girl.
Oh, I see.
So it really tells of one of the crises plaguing our society today in the
Yes.
battle of opioids.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
It shows my struggle with opioids. So I was prescribed quite a bit as a young girl, and over time I started realizing that I was no longer taking these pills because I needed them, but because I wanted them.
Yes. Oh, my.
So I made the attempt to break away from that, and I have been completely RX free for about 14
I
years
commend
now.
you on that. That's quite a struggle.
It was.
Really having many friends, contacts that have gone through similar.
Yep, same.
So it's just part of life, and unfortunately now they hopefully have more of a control on these opioids. Well, your Eternal Hydra, that is interesting. I think a very interesting selection.
So Eternal Hydra is something that I created for myself and for others who tend to struggle with depression, and that you need healing after you have accepted that you do in fact struggle, and I believe art can also provide us with healing. So this piece shows a woman rising from the flames with wings on her back. I had been struggling with what's the meaning of life? Like why are we here? Why do we do the things that we do? And something spoke to me and said, don't worry so much about that. Right. Instead, just let your DNA do the work, let it soak up information.
Yes.
And continue to trust, and that's Eternal Hydra.
Oh, excellent. Very, again, touching. Now that you've described it, it's almost like the coming out, rising from the flame, the phoenix bird, yes. Oh, that's interesting. Now, we have a piece to your left there that, would you tell us about this one here? We have
yes.
eyes and a young lady blindfolded.
So this piece is called Blue Eyes Technology. This shows my struggle with cameras. And it really targets the issue that our American people are having with government mass surveillance.
Oh, yes. I see.
So the Blue Eyes technology, it is in fact a technology that is in development, in where these cameras are equipped with AI, and the AI is learning how to read your eye movements to determine future behaviors and moods. So they say it would often be used in places like labs. So if you come in and you're feeling upset, the AI would be able to determine that just based off of the movement of your
Right.
eyes.
If you're working at a post office and you feel
Anywhere,
like you're
really.
Yes, I see. So, and even if you're a threat, in other words,
Yes, sir.
possibly. Oh, excellent. There's, your themes are so in depth, and you look at the painting and thought, so this is great. We'll have to keep in touch and bring you back in a while and see what else. Now, the painting behind us, Octavia, is one I was so touched by also. Do you want to describe Octavia?
Absolutely. Octavia is a corpse flower. She resides in the Missouri Botanical Gardens. I have not had the privilege of seeing her in person yet. I hear she is spectacular. So I did, in fact, use a photograph to create the piece. She is acrylics. I really liked the idea of a corpse flower because, again, it's not really a happy piece, but it is a very intriguing piece. And I really want to get across to people with my art that happiness should not be the pinnacle or the goal. In fact, picture all emotions as being, like all people's, equal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if all emotions are equal, then what would your goal be then? And I believe that that goal would be positivity. If you can keep a positive mindset, which in this piece I used colors that would really invoke a higher positive mindset.
Excellent.
If you can stay positive even in the depths of extreme sorrow or extreme just anger, then happiness would never be out of reach for you.
Now, this flower, as named, is sort of a negative, but it's still existing. Like we go through many bumps in the road or trials and tribulations in life, but we still exist. And like you said, if you don't try to reach too far high on the scale and try to be happy every day and realize that life is happiness, but also on a daily basis, you have your trials and tribulations.
All different
so
kinds of emotions.
Octavia survives in St. Louis with such a negative name, but yet still surviving the best that she can.
Well, it is, as you can see, it's a gorgeous flower, absolutely beautiful botanical. But the really funny thing about a corpse flower is the stench. They
Yes,
smell
that stench.
terrible. And that's to attract what it eats, which is bugs. So it's, to me, it was a perfect piece for just getting the message out there that you don't have to always be
Now,
happy.
you had plans on showing this at the my exhibit there at the Runs Center, Conservation Nature Run Center exhibit that was planned for this month, the last. Now it's scheduled for 2021. So if you want to see Octavia, she'll be on exhibit, we hope, next May and June of 2021. Well, Jackie, you do commission work, correct? So would you like to give us your contact info where you'd like to be reached if someone would like to have a painting done with telling their story that they could enjoy on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
I'm on both Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram is @abductedbyfire, all one word. On Facebook, you can find me at JR Pollack Art. I don't currently have a website up yet, but my email is jackier.pollack@gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, thanks again. We're just about out of time. So on behalf of JCTV Access, I want to thank you so much for contributing to the Mid-Missouri Art News and sharing so much in depth into your paintings. Make it really a learning and informational experience for all. Jackie, you have any closing words for us?
I think if you see something going on and you have a certain talent or a passion, that you should really try to portray truth in the most positive light that you can, because truth is so very important these days.
And the truth is, you may not be this inspirational, happy person every day, but you would shed some light on your personality, just being you. And people have to accept that.
Absolutely.
That's the truth in your dealing with yourself. Well, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And I want to say thanks to our viewers once again, worldwide, for being with us. And I can't leave out our producer, Gloria Enlow, and crew, and Art Gerhardt, and the crew that makes it possible here at JCTV, Access, Mid-Missouri Art News, Spotlight on the Arts, and here at Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. Once again, there's a lot more here on Mid-Missouri Art News and Spotlight on the Arts, JCTV, Jefferson City, Missouri. And don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying thank you again. See you next time.